Government has released additional monies to clear outstanding accounts for CARFESTA, and all CARFESTA participants are to be paid by weekend.
More Caribbean leaders come out in support of U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Barack Obama, with Election Day in the U.S. just hours away.
And the Guyana Power and Light Company says despite the reduction in fuel prices on the world market, it is not prepared to lower its tariffs.
The details of these and other stories, business news, eye on the judiciary, health tips, and of course the latest sporting action in the Diamond Mineral Water Agency and sport news after these. Good evening, I am Janelle Persad.
And I'm Paul Moore.
With this edition of the 6 o'clock news for today, Monday, November 3, 2008. Paul.
Thanks, Janelle. President Bar Jagdeo says government has released additional monies to clear outstanding accounts for CARFESTA. The president, during a press conference on Saturday, said these payments may be made before the upcoming weekend. Edward Lane reports.
Several categories of participants at CARFESTA 10 are still awaiting their payments from the CARFESTA Secretariat. The participants staged protests on several occasions, claiming that they were not getting any word from the Secretariat. But Saturday last, President Bar Jagdeo told reporters that already some monies have been released for the payment, which should be made shortly.
So I want to urge people to bear with us. Hopefully by the end of next week we'll clear all of this up, and that they will receive their money. The money is there, it's not an issue of money, but when we deal with state money, we have to make sure that it's disbursed only for services provided.
The head of state has explained that the delay in payments was due to some discrepancies in the accounts, noting that there was mass duplication of claims for services provided. He reportedly made the observation during a meeting with the finance and culture ministers and was examining the accounts.
You have two entries in two different places requesting money from the Ministry of Finance, but it's the same item. Check if it's the same. I found out Minister Anthony called me and said, yes, when the technical people went, it's the same thing. I can't have that. I can't have that sort of sloppiness in the accounts. The money is there. It's not an issue of the money. All the money is there, but I'm going to ensure that only people who provided services are paid.
Meanwhile, the president disclosed that a budgeted sum of about some $10 million for contractual works will not be paid, since some contractors have fallen short on their commitments. One such contractor was Swansea Telecommunications, who were contracted to provide the lighting and other elements of the stage at the National Stadium. Edward Lane, the 6 o'clock news.
Thank you, Edward. Well, Paul, more Caribbean leaders have come out in support of U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Barack Obama, with Election Day in the U.S. just hours away. The Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Vincent and the Grenadines have joined Guyana's President Bar Jagdeo in voicing their preference. President Bar Jagdeo had made public his support for Obama ahead of tomorrow's elections in the United States. The president had a media conference at the weekend, called on Caribbean nationals in the diaspora to vote Obama, since he believes he has the right policies.
Urge the diaspora, that is Guyanese and other members of or people from the Caribbean who are living in the United States of America, to vote for Mr. Obama. And if I had the opportunity to, and it was allowed, then I personally would be campaigning for him.
The president says he favors Obama since he has the background to address poverty and other issues affecting the world's poor.
Obama, as the next president of the United States of America, would have great symbolic value. His message is universal. He has never pandered to partisan interests, black, white, brown interests. His values are universal, and if you look at his campaign carefully, he's remained focused on the issues. He's had a very, very dignified campaign.
Mr. Douglas not only endorses Mr. Obama, but insists he would have to go back to a school of politics to understand the American people if the Illinois senator is not elected. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves said that an Obama victory could unlock the door to closer union of the Northern Caribbean. Senator Obama still holds a poll lead, but one new survey suggests his lead over Republican John McCain is narrowing slightly. Guyana Power and Light Company Chairman Winston Brazelton says despite the reduction of oil prices on the world market, the entity is not prepared to lower its tariffs. This has been supported by Prime Minister Samuel Hines, who notes that reductions are unlikely unless oil prices remain at a stable rate. More in this report.
Even with a $3.6 billion grant by government, the Guyana Power and Light Company has had to grapple with astronomical oil prices for a major part of the year. Although these rates have recently declined, Finance Director Ashwar Deonarain says this has only managed to place the company at a break-even point on a monthly basis. He notes that the entity is still reeling from major losses since the overall generation cost surpasses the revenues earned. While the company may not require government assistance from next year, GPL Chairman Winston Brazelton says the same tariff structure will be maintained until operational changes are made.
So I would say the earliest, and subject to prices not moving much from now, the earliest that a reduction can be contemplated would be probably after the 3 capital projects are completed, which would be after mid-next year. But we have to also recognize that we've not been putting aside much money for capital works. We're getting support from government. We've been operating with tight budgets. And so if the earliest would be mid-next year, and I would say that if you had to do a proper costing, it would be a bit longer because we really should be building some reserves.
Prime Minister Samuel Hines notes that over the past 5 years, the tariffs charged are substantially below what is required to sustain the utility company. According to him, oil prices would have to stabilize before there is any consideration of a decrease.
It would have to fall and hold, in my guessing off the top of my head, below $50 a barrel before one could anticipate any reduction in tariff.
The Prime Minister has also voiced his opinion on calls made to privatize the company.
We think that the GPL is being run as efficiently as is possible today in Guyana with the people we have in the utility and with also the culture out there that still is in the way more expects to some extent that the electricity should be available to people, particularly poor people, at prices that they can pay.
Though he has not ruled out the possibility of privatization, Mr. Hines expressed disappointment in the failure of Guyanese to invest in shares within the power company. Reporting for the 6 o'clock news, I'm Shardalal.